Interpretations of Shogi Effendi and Abdul Baha is available right now. Therefore, that is the second pillar forever. We don't need a second pillar in a form of a man, a body, something like Shogi Effendi. Another guardian. But unfortunately, this might be an answer today probably used by everybody else. But it does not answer a lot of other questions, Like for example, why does then Shogi Effendi talks about the future guardians? He himself had no son. But he says there are future guardians. And guardians, not even just one. So this is one of the things. Why would he say that? The other thing is that he talks about institution of guardianship and even a building to be called the House of Guardianships. I'm going to explain this thing to you more. So I studied. I came to Kelowna in 1993. I had a vision of Abdul Baha. He called me one of the elders. I tried to talk. In the vision that I had, he actually scolded me. And he said, just do something about it. In a scolding way. I didn't understand what he means. But then I went to Prince George in 1994, 1995. I brought a couple of other friends of mine. Within the discussion as it goes, I tried to write a letter to Universal House of Justice. I don't know, my hand went some way. I was going to write something else and it ended up being something else. But the letter basically is finished. I looked at it, reviewed it over and over, and I found that the answer is there. I solved the problem. So what do we do? I found out that the Baha'i faith is not finished yet. When Bob came, Baha'i faith was just a start, it was not finished. Baha'u'llah had to come. When Baha'u'llah comes, Baha'i faith was not finished yet, because Abdul Baha had to come to interpret. And every time a new one comes, some people would, fight back. When Abdul Baha comes, Baha'i faith was not finished. Shogi Effendi had to come. Of course, when he comes again, some people repudiated him. A lot of people. So Shogi Effendi passed away, dies. They start repudiation, including Masonry, I just said, because Universal House of Justice had to come. And once the Universal House of Justice come, is it finished? Not really. There had to be Universal House of Guardianship as well. Once the Universal House of Guardianship is formed, the formative age in the Baha'i faith is right now commenced, but it will be done by then. So, where am I getting these ideas from? It is in the writing of Abdul Baha in the book called Some Answered Questions, which brings me to my number 3 note here. In the Some Answered Questions, page 57, quotations of Abdul Baha. Quote, in each cycle, the guardians and the holy soul. Please pay attention, my dear friends. He uses the word guardians with S, capital. I'm going to repeat the quote from the beginning. In each cycle, the guardians and the holy souls have been 12. So Jacob had 12 sons. In the time of Moses, there were 12 heads of chiefs of the tribes. In the time of Christ, there were 12 apostles. And in the time of Muhammad, there were 12 imams. But in this glorious manifestation, there are 24. Double the number of all others. For the greatness of this manifestation requires it. These holy souls are in the presence of God, seated on their own throne, meaning that they reign eternally. So, there are 24 guardians. Shogi Effendi is the guardian of the cause of God. But in this here, it says there are 24. They ask Abdul Baha, who are these guardians? Abdul Baha says the Bab and 18 letters of living, which Bab had 18 disciples. The 18 letters of living makes 19 of them. Therefore, they become 24. And he says 19, and he says 5 others will come in future. But that is in Persian, it's not translated. I'm going to use a quotation from Shoghi Effendi stating the same fact. That's in Light of Guidance, page 509. This is what Shoghi Effendi says. Regarding the 24 elders, the master in a tablet stated that they are the Bab, the 18 letters of living, and the 5 others who would be known in future. So far, we do not know who these 5 others are. Light of Guidance, page 509. So, Shoghi Effendi says, as master, which is Abdul Baha, stated, 18 letters of the living and the Bab makes 19, and 5 will come in future. But he says, I do not know who they are, Shoghi Effendi. Otherwise, I would have told you. And he doesn't say he's one of them. Because if he's one of them, therefore we needed 4. But he says 5 others. That means I am not one of them. Good. So we know so far there are 5 elders to become. And these are very special people. We have to follow the quotations of Abdul Baha, bringing back to you what I said. He calls them holy souls. He calls them guardians. He says they sit on their own throne. They reign eternally. They're the great personalities. So these 5 has to come. I said, gosh, Muslims and all the religions are waiting for one. In this religion, there's 5 others. And some people say, oh no, this is a reference to the future manifestations, the future. No. The quotations, that is the requirement of this religion. It's a part of the Baha'i faith. Okay? Even some people say that they could be hand of the cause or this or that. Even Universal Laws of Justice says, no, do not apply the word guardian to anybody else. So when I saw there are 5 of them are coming, I'm reading, myself, the writing of Shoghi Effendi in the World Order of Baha'u'llah, and I see that he's talking about future guardians. I said to myself, when he's talking, I just read it for you, that 24 elders and 5 of them they will come. That means elders are the guardians. Also, we can be called guardians. Why? Because Shoghi Effendi says there are future guardians. But then he says 5 elders will come in future. But these elders, by Abdul Baha, called guardian. So Abdul Baha says there are 5 guardians coming, or elder. Shoghi Effendi says 5 elder, which are the same guardians, as Abdul Baha says. Reference is the same 5 remaining. And it coincides exactly what Shoghi Effendi says, that there are future guardians. All of a sudden, matter is clear. These future guardians of the faith that Abdul Baha, as Shoghi Effendi refers to, are these elders. Why? Because in the quotations of Abdul Baha, he calls them the guardians. He says there are 24 guardians, including those 5 that had to come. Very good. The matter is so far clear that we Baha'is have to be waiting the coming of 5 elders or 5 guardians, that they have to come in future. So, what are they supposed to do? What is their duty? Shoghi Effendi says, let me bring my quotation number 4. He says their job is interpretation of the writings, but they are essentially ordinary people. He says that. So, that quotations, I don't think I have it here at the moment. Yes. All right. That's what here it says. Quote. It's in the World Order of Baha'u'llah, page 151. The fact that the guardian has been specifically endowed with such power as he may need to reveal the purport and disclose the importance of the utterances, implications of the utterances of Baha'u'llah and Abdul Baha, does not necessarily confer upon him a station co-equal with those whose word he is called upon to interpret. He can exercise that right and discharge this application and yet remain infinitely inferior to both of them in rank and different in nature. Okay, the integrity of this cardinal principle of our faith, the word and the deed of the present and the future guardians must abundantly testifies. There you go. He refers to the future guardians, and he says the future guardians, they do interpret the writing. That is their job. This is their specialty. Nobody else can do that. But they're just ordinary people. He goes beyond that. He says that they could be infinitely inferior. Infinitely inferior. Even an ant is not infinitely inferior than Abdul Baha. Surely no Baha'i in the world is infinitely inferior than Abdul Baha. I don't know, could you say an electron is infinitely inferior than Abdul Baha? I don't know what could be infinitely inferior than Abdul Baha. This is telling us that don't bug these elders, Shobi and this is. If they can't do their jobs and they're doing, and there's a way for you to understand that they are functioning to their jobs, leave them alone. Don't get into their personal life. So far we found out these fives, what are they doing? They're ordinary people. They shouldn't be, going to anything more than that, to ask of them anything more than that, miracle or anything. But they can interpret the writing. All right. Now the new questions that would arise in my head, what is left to interpret? What is it left to interpret? Okay? Which brings me to these quotations again. In the World Order of Baha'u'llah, page 148. Quotation of Shobi Effendi. An attempt, I feel, should at the present juncture should be made to explain the characters and the functions of these twin pillars that support this mighty administrative structure, the institution of guardianship and of the Universal House of Justice. To describe in their entirety the diverse elements that function in conjunction with this institution is beyond the scope and the purpose of these general expositions of the fundamental verities of the faith. To define with accuracy and minuteness the features and to analyze exhaustively the nature of the relationship which, on the one hand, bind together these two fundamental organs of the will of Abdul Baha and connect on the other each of them to the author of the faith and the center of his covenant is a task which future generation will no doubt adequately fulfill. Page 148, World Order of Baha'u'llah. My dear friend, you go to it and you see if I'm right. He says the relationship of Universal House of Justice and Universal House of Guardianship has not been explained fully. I haven't finished it, he says. And he says each one of these institutions, their relationships to Abdul Baha and to Baha'u'llah is not clear. So at the present time we don't know what is the relationship, fully explaining it. What is the relationship of Universal House of Justice to Abdul Baha, to Baha'u'llah, and to the institution of guardianship? I'm reading it again to see this part of it at least, so you see it. He says, to define with accuracy and minuteness the features and to analyze exhaustively